Hi guys, Svetlana Sotak here, and today I'd like to show you how to make these beginner-friendly, fully reversible fabric baskets. These adorable fabric baskets finish at 4 inches wide by 3 3/4 inches tall by 3 3/4 inches deep. They are fully reversible, so you can decide which fabric you want on the outside and which on the inside. And they make super adorable little trinket containers. I also like to keep one by my sewing machine and use it as a thread catcher. And as you can see, they make super adorable flower pot cozies. To make one basket, you will need 2 exterior panels, 2 lining panels, and 4 inner-facing panels. I am using quilting cotton for the exterior and the lining, and I'm using Pellon SF101 for my inner-facing. Other medium weight fusible inner-facing will work as well if that's what you prefer. All my panels are 8 inches wide by 7 inches tall. You will also need a ruler, a fabric marking pen, fabric shears, and of course all the standard sewing and pressing supplies. Let's start by fusing interfacing to wrong sides of our exterior as well as lining panels. So place one of your panels on pressing board and give it a good press. We want to work with nice straight panels. We don't want any wrinkles in there. Turn it right side down. Now bring your inner facing and place it sticky or bumpy side down on your panel. So sticky side of your panel of your inner facing is touching the wrong side of your fabric. Smooth out all the edges and adhere inner facing by placing the iron down and adding a little bit of steam. Again, lift up your iron and place it here. So keep lifting up and placing it down in a different spot and hitting it with a little bit of steam to adhere interfacing to your panel. Now make sure not to move your iron back and forth like that before your interfacing is adhered, because you can end up shifting everything and that wouldn't be good. Now that interfacing is adhered, you can turn it right side up and just give it one more press. This panel is done. Now go ahead and adhere interfacing to the wrong sides of your remaining exterior panel and your lining panels. Set your lining panels aside for a little bit and let's start working on assembling the exterior of the basket. So place your exterior panels right sides together, line up all the edges, and use ruler and fabric marking pen to mark 1 3/4 inches squares along 2 bottom corners. Now to do that, I find 1 3/4 inch mark on my ruler here, 1 3/4 inch mark here, and place the ruler so the 1 3/4 inch mark is lined up with the side edge and another is lined up with the bottom edge. And now I use my fabric pen to mark the square along the corner. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, I find 1 3/4 inch mark right here and here, line them up with the edges and mark it here. Now use fabric shears to cut out these corners. Make sure you cut only along the lines. Do not cut outside of the lines. And we are cutting through both exterior panels at the same time. Now notice how I'm holding my panel to make sure it doesn't shift, so my cuts are precise. So this is what my panels look like. All right, place them back, right sides together. And use a clip or pin to hold just the bottom edge together. Take the panels to your sewing machine and stitch along this bottom edge using 1/4 inch seam allowance, back stitching at the beginning and end. Now finger press the seam open like so. Take it back to your sewing machine and stitch along this seam using 1/8 inch seam allowance, attaching the seam to your exterior panel. This will give us a nice flat bottom for the basket. And do the same on the other side. See how nice and flat this is right here? Okay, now bring your exterior panels together. Line up the side seams, pin or clip them together. Do the same on the other side. Now stitch along both bottom edges using 1/4 inch seam allowance, back stitching at the beginning and end. And again, finger press your seams open. Now you could totally take it to your pressing board and press it using hot iron. I find that finger pressing works well, and I just give it a good press once I'm finished with the basket. So I finger press it here, one side, the other side, like so. There we go. Now place your hand inside the exterior panel and flatten the side seam over the bottom seam. Make sure you keep this seam open, line it up with the bottom seam, and clip in place. And we are going to stitch along this raw edge using 1/4 inch seam allowance, back stitching at the beginning and end. And follow the same process for the second gusset. Like here, again, line up side edge over the bottom edge. Line everything up, make sure you're keeping the seam open, pin it in place, stitch along the raw edge. And don't forget to back stitch at the beginning and the end. Here's the finished exterior panel. I'm going to turn it right side out. Neatly push the corners out to make them nice and pointy. Like so. And even run your hand along the edges from the inside to make the seams lay nice and flat. Set the exterior panel aside for a bit and follow the same steps as you did for the exterior panel to assemble your linings. Here's my finished lining, like that, and here's my exterior turned right side out. Now I'm just going to press my seams open using hot iron just to set them in place. My panels are now pressed and it's time for the final assembly. So I'm going to place my exterior panel inside the lining. So as you can see, the exterior is right side out, the lining is right side in. So the right side of the exterior and the lining are together. I'll push it inside gently and line up the side edges over each other. Using clips to hold the panels in place, I'll line up the second side seam, like so, clip it in place, push the exterior gently inside, and line up the top raw edges of both exterior and the lining. And now I'm going to clip all the way around, making sure to hold both exterior and lining panels together. Like so. Here, everything is nice and smooth right here. I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and stitch all the way around the top edge, making about a 2-inch opening in the seam, somewhere in the middle, like right here. So maybe I'll mark it right here. That's where my opening starts and this is where it will end. So this way I remember. So I'll go start from here, back stitch, and stitch all the way around, come to this point, back stitch again. I stitched all the way around the top edge, leaving a hole in the top seam. Right here, this will be for turning the pouch right side out. So I'm going to press this seam open, like so. I'm using this nice skinny pressing board, which is really wonderful for making pouches. And as you can see, I pressed it open right here where the opening is. So this way it will help us line up the edges really neatly. It will make a nice, neat, crisp top edge. So now open the hole in here and start pulling first your exterior out through the hole and then your lining as well. Go slowly so you don't rip any stitches. Like so. And this is what your basket should look like at this point. So we have a neatly finished exterior, a lining, and here's the little hole which will stitch closed in just a little bit. So push your lining inside the exterior panel. So, and we want to make this top edge really neat. You can push on it with your fingers to make it as smooth as possible. You can even roll it between your thumb and your finger to help the fabric come out nice and neat. Like so, and go all the way around the basket, smoothing the top seam. And as you can see, here is the hole in the top seam, and since the seam was pressed open, it becomes nice and neat right here. And I'm going to use clips to hold this edge in place. I'm going to take this basket to my sewing machine and stitch all the way around the top edge using 1/8 inch seam allowance, and then do a second set of stitching using 1/4 inch seam allowance, again going all the way around, back stitching when I get to the end. Here's my basket now. The lining is neatly inside here. Exterior is all beautiful, top stitched all the way around. And as you can see, while I top stitched around here, I closed the hole in the top seam while doing that. Now all we need to do is give it a good press. All lovely. Folded the top edge by about 1 inch, and before you do that, you can decide which side you want to be the exterior. So as I said before, this is a fully reversible basket, so you could have this as an exterior fabric, which I've decided to use for mine, but you could totally do the other one and just have this for the lining if that's what you wanted. So I'm going to fold the top edge by about 1 inch all the way around the basket, like so. Neaten it all up. Here we go. And it's all finished. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and will have lots of fun sewing up your own fabric baskets. Bye!